Welcome, everyone, to the Eric Squared Circle podcast. This is Eric Ozio here with my colleague, Eric Robinson. We are coming to you from 3 Points Urban Brewery down here in Cincinnati, Ohio. We, for the first time, are coming to you via live, well, not live, but on the camera here. You'll be able to see us on YouTube, Discord, listen here on Audacity, on Facebook, anything you can possibly listen to. We are the Eric Squared Circle podcast. We're here talking about the wrestling industry. It's our Royal Rumble SuperShow, my favorite pay-per-view, and I'm very excited. How are you today, Mr. Robinson?
Man, I'm fantastic, and you couldn't have summed it up any better. Yeah, this is the first time that we're actually coming and you guys can actually see our faces. We figured it's about time to get some new content out for you guys and to join the world of YouTube. So get used to seeing these ugly mugs as we take you through the world of wrestling each week. Man, it's a pleasure to hang out with you. Good to see you again. At this point, yeah, it's WWE's All-Star Game going on next weekend, so a week from Sunday. Your favorite show of the year. It's the official road to the WrestleMania kicking off. You know, let's get into it, man. It's gonna be a good day, and while we're at it, let's just talk about some of the best Rumble moments, best Rumble performers. I mean, basically, this is our Royal Rumble Super Show. So take a seat, enjoy, and let's get into it, man.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, first things first, we've got Sheamus versus Shorty G announced last night on SmackDown singles match. Sheamus finally coming back from the spinal stenosis. What are you thinking, man?
That's great. It's great to see Sheamus. He's always been kind of a low-key favorite of mine, always with his brutal methods.
Yeah.
And I, did enjoy the run with him and Cesaro, them splitting up. Really kind of want to see that maybe go forward at some point, because they could definitely reach back on that. And they never finished that.
Thank you.
Best of 7 match. So who knows? But maybe this could be a little warm up for Mr. Sheamus, because let's face it, Shorty G is getting kind of screwed here,
man,
in my opinion. But it is what it is. They can do what they want with their talent, but I do not see Shorty G coming out with the victory next Sunday.
Well, okay, first of all, I got to say, very rarely do people actually remember the best of 7 series. I mean, they were tied at 3 apiece and never finished it.
Out. They both got counted out of the ring. I think it was on Monday Night Raw 3 or 4 years ago. Can't remember exactly when. So, yeah, I think it was around this time, too, because I think maybe, like, before the end of the year, because it was like going into the new year before WrestleMania season started, and I think they came in as tag teams after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't too much longer after that series that they went and fully put them together as a tag team, and begrudgingly became the Bar. But they had a pretty great run out of it. But at this point,
broke the New Day's 440 some odd day record. Yeah. As tag team champions. But again, the New Day still holding that record. Nothing compared to my favorite tag team, the Golden Truth.
This guy over here
right now. But I think it's a good warm-up match to whenever let's face it, it'll probably be early in the card, if not the pre-show, which we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think the odds are pretty good that this is a pre-show match. It's a big 4, so we're looking at 5 o'clock start time anyway. So I like it. I think that it's always great with Sheamus when he comes back. He's going to get that huge fan reaction, and then to just kind of brush it aside and hit the bro kick. I always love that with Sheamus. Reminds me a lot of Big Show in that manner, as far as being able to come back. Everybody loves him, and then the second that he turns heel, it's just complete 180. And this was the same thing that we saw here. And while I'm not crazy about the Shorty G gimmick, he's getting TV time, and deservedly so. I mean, after what he did at King of the Ring this year, there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to be a fixture on whatever show that he's on. I mean, he's one of the.
We're assuming both these guys may enter the Rumble, at least when you want them. I think Shorty G will be that guy, so maybe he'll get some love in that match.
Yeah.
I just don't. I see this as a comeback start for Sheamus, if not against Cesaro, but I mean, because he's one of Vince's guys. You remember when he was in the League of Nations and he did Vince's bidding? It was good.
That's on the short list of like worst stables of all time, man. hands down.
The League of
No,
Nations.
no. I mean, that was Sheamus. It was Rusev.
Alberto
Del Rio, yeah, and
bad news.
Stu Bennett. Okay, all right, I like it.
I miss me some bad news.
Right, man, I'm telling you. Again, not crazy about what they're doing with Shorty G. However, he's pound for pound one of the strongest guys on the roster, and if this is what gets him TV time, I'm good with that. I think that he could easily find his way into the Intercontinental title scene, depending on how Braun and Shinsuke's angle plays out. But I don't know. I don't hate this match. It's a pretty good way to ease Sheamus back into the ring. Yeah, Shorty will take care of him. I'm not necessarily too worried about it. But it seems like this is just going to be not necessarily a squash, but they'd rather put over Sheamus, I think. So I'm going to go Sheamus, taking this one on the pre-show.
All right. Kind of moving through the rest of the card, just talking briefly. We have those mid-card championships that you were talking about, the United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. We have another rematch of Andrade versus Mysterio in the United States Championship. Obviously, Selena Vega on an episode of Raw was able to linger Andrade past Rey Mysterio by putting his leg up, and he got tagged out, but it was recouped on, if you will.
Yep.
No more. So they will have another match along with Shinsuke facing Braun Strowman, which I'm interested to see. But again, just talking on the mid-card belts, I do see Andrade retaining, and I do see somehow Shinsuke coming out and defeating Braun. Braun just does not have the prowess that he once did when he was facing a jobber every single night for 3 months straight, and then facing up against the top guys like Roman and Brock and a couple other guys. I just don't really see. I mean, he's just not really set to where he wants to be, at least in my opinion. But the money's just too good over there at the corporation.
Sure, no, I get that for sure. And the thing is, and if we're talking, just to go back to Andrade and Zelina Vega, they were teasing the split a couple of weeks ago. All the frustration between the two of them. As great as they are together, what do you see as the end game for these two as far as 2020 goes? Because if they can tease it now, I mean, I feel like it can only get worse from here with as bad as we've seen it, and to see them kind of cross each other and really kind of have that heated, energy between the two of them. I mean, I think that, Zelina turning on Andrade would be just the ultimate swerve, and it wouldn't surprise me either. But I mean, just what do you think about a potential dissociation of these two, especially with this ladder match on the line?
Oh, I mean, I think it's always on the table. I mean, she's a tricky one. She could do whatever she wants, but it seems that like she's kind of definitely riding the coattails of what Andrade is doing in the ring. Maybe it'll take like a number one contenders match and for the a WWE championship or Universal Championship, or winning it, and then ultimately like betraying him to a point where he's on the main stage and she gets all the attention for that. Maybe it's at a WrestleMania, but never can doubt it. Honestly, you never can.
Yeah. So, do you think we'll see her in the Royal Rumble this year?
The women's Royal Rumble. I definitely think we do see them. To see her enter at some point during the night. We'll see, obviously, but I just think like to bring forward themselves as a group, and then have it more streamlined as if she were to ultimately betray him.
Sure.
It'd be more high profile to do it that way and gain more attention and more traction her way in a singles run.
Sure. No, I get that completely. So yeah, I mean, obviously huge match for Rey Mysterio, huge match for Andrade. I'm pretty sure Rey Mysterio's in the men's Royal Rumble this year as well. Next up, we've got announced last night Bayley versus Lacey Evans for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This is definitely one of my favorite feuds on SmackDown right now. Everything about it's just kind of firing on all cylinders, especially for Bayley, which is very rare. I mean, we've seen how she's been treated on Raw, during previous championship reigns, and now that she's turned heel and taken an axe to the Bayley Bloodies. I just like saying that phrase just because it's like death in the major babies for all the King of the Hill fans out there. But I think that with Bayley kind of coming in here and feeling the pressure from Lacey Evans, who finally is on a wave of a momentum. She's basically, the female Lex Luger right now as far as the patriotism and everything that they tried to do to make her just the face of the women's division for SmackDown and appropriately saluting, her military past and her motherhood. I think that everything they're doing right now is making for such good storytelling right now that at this point, I mean, Bayley, it's realistic that she loses the women's championship next week, and I think that it would be the right time to pull the trigger on it if they went that route. I think that they should, and the involvement of Sasha Banks, I'm sure, will be a factor as well. But Bayley is looking to be on the run. Yeah,
I do not think she will lose. I think it'll be a hard-fought match, but I think leading up, this is the start of the road to WrestleMania, but ultimately I think it is already started once the new year hits, my personal opinion, for the corporation, the WWE.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's already started, and I think she will be that figure going forward through the rest of the road. Maybe doing that and face the music at WrestleMania and giving that.
Yeah.
She's had her WrestleMania moment in sense of, as a face, winning a championship or winning a match.
Yeah.
So maybe that run kind of ends for her that way, and they can kind of start something new because that's the end of the year for them.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think based on, and especially kind of what we saw, last night on SmackDown, I mean, they've got great chemistry, and Lacey has improved, by leaps and bounds as a performer. Especially because they did rush her up too soon. That's just always been my opinion, is that, a little bit more refining in NXT would have been great for her. And, I mean, there were still plenty of people at the time she could have had some great stories with. But it seems it's all finally starting to click for her. So she's a great addition to the women's roster right now. I just think that, they tried a little too hard and put her in the spotlight a little too soon, especially when you think about Royal Rumble, I believe it was 2018. I think that was that she was in there 1 and 2 with Charlotte Flair, and just she looked green, and it was a little tough to watch, but definitely something I'm enjoying now. I think that she's kind of on top of her game right now, and I think that we're in for a great road to WrestleMania for Bayley and Lacey Evans.
Yeah, I do too. Another. Kind of just talking on the matches themselves. Again, you're listening to the Eric Squared Circle podcast. We're coming to you from
3 Points Urban Brewery, man.
Urban Brewery here in lovely Cincinnati, Ohio. It is Saturday, January 18th, 2020.
It is.
New
Hey,
year.
Cheers, my friend.
Oh, yes. I will cheers you as
Yep.
well. These are juice. We're drinking juice. Juice over here.
Yeah.
We can talk briefly on another match that's happening, which both men, I believe, will enter the Rumble itself, but it's an individual falls count anywhere match, depending on how it goes, in the sense of if one man isn't physically capable. But we know one is definitely going to be in the Rumble, and Roman Reigns, the King, Baron Corbin. I'm not so sure. We'll see how the match goes, but
yeah,
it's a good, and for Roman in the past, in his last Royal Rumble matches, he's always been kind of the hated son of Vince McMahon. He's like Vince McMahon's other son. He's the new version. Honestly, he's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was in 1995, but instead he's about 10 times more favored than that. So, but I do not dislike this run by Roman, and I want to see him have a strong road to WrestleMania, and I seriously think he will win again at WrestleMania this year. I do think he wins the Royal Rumble. Just going to go ahead and say that out
sure.
now. I mean, it really doesn't matter. You can have your predictions, and you can always put what you think about the Royal Rumble and your predictions, because you still got another week. And week and 1 day, 8 days until the show. Who do you think is going to win? Comment on our Gmail, ericsquaredcircle@gmail.com. You can comment on any of us at Eric Squared Circle Podcast on Facebook, and reach us on Instagram and Twitter. We both have our individual ones. You can reach out to us at our names on those specific platforms. But, we want to know what you think. But, again, I do think Roman Reigns wins. So I think this is just a little buffer up. He's going to beat down on Corbin, the king. The king going down. He's going to get going down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty tough to imagine Roman Reigns not winning this match. I mean, I got to say, and I'll continue to say it, Roman Reigns, as terrible as it was to have what happened to him as far as, the leukemia diagnosis and having to go away for a while, since his return, they've done the right thing by keeping him out of the title picture and kind of slowly warming him up for this moment. I mean, if you just listen to SmackDown last night, during the tables match with Bobby, he's Bobby to me, damn it, but Bobby Roode is when he's doing the ooh-ah and doing the spear through the table, like the crowd is chanting that along with him. I mean, even, at SmackDown's live event day after Christmas, I went, took the missus to check out the matches, and, Roman is as over as ever right now. And, it couldn't happen at a better time. I mean, Roman is probably the one person, who's always been seen as WWE's resident Superman. Who better to be a potential contender for The Fiend at WrestleMania?
I can't think, and I think he potentially will win at WrestleMania. That's why I think he'll win the Royal Rumble to get that opportunity. The only thing is, it doesn't matter anymore. He's primarily on SmackDown, obviously,
sure.
But you can go for any championship once you win the Royal Rumble. I think he will move over to Raw in the road.
Sure.
Because he'll declare that he wants to face The Fiend.
Yeah, I mean,
Bray Wyatt. Excuse me.
You're good. There's a lot to like about that for sure. I think that as far as this match with Corbin goes, I'm really kind of hoping they put an end to this feud. I mean, I wasn't too crazy about the dog food thing. It just seemed kind of cheesy to me. But what Corbin's doing, and I can't believe I'm admitting this, but he's doing some of the best heel work of his career right now. And it's something. I mean, I was big into Baron Corbin, coming out of NXT, up to the main roster, and it just seemed like they didn't really want to, take that chance on him just yet. And even with the winning the Money in the Bank and then losing the cash in, it just seems like a wasted opportunity. But he's finally got that back now, and even though I didn't necessarily want him to win the King of the Ring, I thought that would go to Shorty G. But I mean, it's just. One of those things where I think that, Corbin is going to have a great showing. I do think that they both end up making it to the Royal Rumble match. I just think that, this is not over for them. This could potentially, bleed into one last match, maybe at Elimination Chamber if we really want to go that far to, just push the end of the feud. I just think that.
Speaking on Roman Reigns,
yep.
He is a Royal Rumble winner.
He is. Now,
some would say he's a questionable Royal Rumble winner, and I would also have to agree the year that he won, it was a little questionable in how he won it. And that brings me up to other questionable Royal Rumble winners throughout the years. I know that you and I have talked briefly off recording of what people that we think that should not have won and really didn't make any sense and didn't go anywhere in terms of creative down the road into the show of shows or past it. I go back to probably my least favorite winner was probably Alberto Del Rio. It made no sense to me at all, and it was a part of the dark ages of WWE wrestling.
That was a weird year.
Weird time of wrestling. And then obviously in 1994 when we had the co-winners of Bret Hart and Lex Luger, that was just a gigantic cop-out, and when I watched it obviously years later, it's just like, what the hell? Come on.
I mean, at that point, the co-winners thing, it just doesn't seem like that's, the match and build that you want to have of those two stories. I mean, at that point, that WrestleMania was, let's see. WrestleMania 10, I think, was that year, and Brett ended up going against Yokozuna, and I think Lex Luger got a shot too. Hopefully I'm right on that. But, yeah, I don't know. And I'm not the biggest Bret Hart fan in the world, admittedly so. I'm a Shawn Michaels guy, so, you know.
They were
is what it is.
kind of rivals.
Yeah, just a little bit.
One was basically giving up the mantle as the other one was taking it.
I mean, they were friends up until that one thing. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I just think that
I'd think one of the biggest questionable ones, obviously, is Vince McMahon winning in '99. That was just like, what is that? Like such a getting such help. It was funny. Don't get me wrong, but like.
Yeah, I mean, it was
definitely did not satisfy my
my
niche match kind of need.
Real jumping the shark moment until he won the world title like 8 months later. So.
Oh, I know, ridiculous. Well, yeah. I mean, Roman Reigns to me wouldn't be a questionable winner this year. I think it would be, honestly, in a lot of ways, I feel like it's not as predictable as last year's was with Seth Rollins. Like that was just so obvious
for sure
that he was gonna win. But, like, I still think he's going to win. But there's also potential to have other guys, like, make real good stamps. Like, you know, you got Jericho as a 66-minute man.
Yeah, I mean, he's
67-minute man.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of talking on guys, the questionable one, the question why guys have never won. And Chris Jericho's one of those guys. How does he never win the Royal Rumble? And he never will have a chance to even compete in it again, let's be honest. And, you know, there's lots of other guys that Jericho's probably the number one guy that I think, like, it's crazy. And then another guy is, like, how in the hell has this guy not won yet? And that's Kane.
Oh, my God.
He has all these Royal Rumble records, but he has never actually won it. And he's a future Hall of Famer. And there's several. I mean, they even had the stat. I think there was, like, out of all the Royal Rumbles, 31 or 32 coming up, there's only, you know, like 50 Hall of Famers have not won the Royal Rumble. So it's like, it's a nice little notch on the belt,
man.
And I feel like
you know,
they could potentially put it on someone that hasn't won it yet. So Roman Reigns obviously has won it already. And the whole Brock Lesnar thing, I mean, even though he's not going to lose the championship by getting eliminated from the Rumble. That's why ultimately he will be eliminated, and whoever eliminates him will be developed into that storyline. I think, like we talked on the previous show, Keith Lee has that opportunity of eliminating Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I mean,
and being an interesting matchup.
I mean, hopefully so, because we have heard the stories of, you know, NXT not necessarily being involved in the Royal Rumble for this year. Which, I mean, if that is indeed the case, I mean, I just think that's a terrible choice.
No, they definitely will be.
I would hope so. I mean, Survivor Series, you know, was a happy accident, but it was a happy accident that got people excited about WWE again to a degree, which is tough to do when you've got, you know, competition elsewhere that they've got to fend off. But I think that as far as with the winners that we've got here, and I just lost my train of thought. I completely whiffed on that. Where were we again?
People that haven't. Sorry, everybody. My friend.
Yeah, it's not great. It's been a long day.
I don't know what he was doing before the actual show.
Come on, man.
We were talking about guys that haven't won the Royal Rumble, and there are Hall of Famers. How is it that we can't have these guys win a Royal Rumble? And I mentioned Jericho, who will never win a Royal Rumble now.
Okay, yeah, and that re-triggered. We're good. So back to, you know, NXT's involvement. You know, bad booking if they decide not to do that. Happy accident. We're hearing that Cain Velasquez is confirmed to be in the Royal Rumble this year. So the odds are pretty good that we're going to see a Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately we may see Rey Mysterio and him team up against Brock Lesnar to get him out. 6-1, 9 him out over top rope or something like that. Or
sure.
Just in the gut, and then Cain Velasquez rope-a-dopes him.
So, which match would you rather have at WrestleMania? Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio, or Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez?
Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree. Brock is just better against smaller guys. I mean, look at AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor. I mean, he gives it.
Say what you will about Velasquez in terms of him getting it in the training performance center in Tampa or whatever else, but I don't see. I mean, it's not there yet. You're not like flowing. You're not. I don't know. You're not reading the ring. You kind of just. You're also attacking Brock with like 2 moves. That's all you can do.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think part of my annoyance with Cain Velasquez having been brought into WWE is that he's not necessarily a guy that grew up enjoying the business or being a wrestling fan or saying, this is something I used to watch or I enjoyed it and, wanted to do since I was a kid. And, that kind of shows in just kind of how he treated his arrival and everything like that. I mean, there were the rumors that Vince wasn't happy with the shape that he was in when he showed up, on the season premiere of SmackDown. I mean, that's a valid point. Like, it just seems like if you know that you're going to go in and have this high-profile angle with Brock Lesnar, who's the hottest draw, which is why they brought him back to SmackDown in the first place, that he would have put some effort or consideration into his look and being ready for that kind of stage. And, I mean, hopefully it's a different case this time. But, I just, I think that he's here for a paycheck. I'm not super crazy about that. I mean, I'm all for outside celebrity involvement in the right manner, but I at least want them to, give a damn about what it is that they're doing,
Yeah, you'd think that. Yeah. And again, we're in the early stages of a brand new competition-filled wrestling industry, I feel. And I think the Royal Rumble is a big stepping stone for at least one side of it.
Sure.
We have so much more to get into per that. But, we have 2 more championships, at least for if you consider it still to be the red brand, obviously with the Raw Women's Championship, but also with the Universal Championship with the Bray Wyatt taking on Daniel Bryan.
In a strap match.
It's a strap.
It is a strap match. That was announced last night. That.
So they're putting a strap on each other's wrist? I haven't seen a strap match in a while. Let's go.
I mean,
so that'll be interesting.
And that's going to be something, man, because, Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan have incredible chemistry. I mean, if you remember the 2014 Royal Rumble and, the fact that they were the opening match, that was easily match of the night, in my opinion, especially with what it is that we got at the very end of that show. And that brings me to my first Stump the Smark question, sir. The 2000.
Have you announced what it is yet to everybody?
So, throughout this show, I am going to be quizzing Mr. Ozio on his knowledge of past Royal Rumble winners. He claims to know every single winner of every single year and says he can recite it and can do it backwards, upside down, you name it. I'm going to put that to the test today. So my first Stump the Smart question for Mr. Ozio today, the winner of the 2014 Royal Rumble that pissed everybody off, who was it?
The winner of the 2014 Royal Rumble was won by a man named Dave Bautista, and he also plays a character in a certain Marvel movie series that I enjoy. Dave Bautista. I've always been impartial to Dave Bautista myself. I do like what I see from like in the past in the Attitude Era and everything else like that. I did not like the return that he had last year to the WWE. I think that was the most pointless and unnecessary return I've ever seen. You could have done so many better things with it. The only thing I liked about it was when Ric Flair was pretty much when he took the bump in the dressing room. That was the best part of the entire thing was Ric Flair. So
he loves to get heat, man. I mean, Flair. Anytime Flair has a chance to get heat,
74 years old and he's still the greatest. Yeah. But like that was the best part of the entire feud that he had with Triple H, and it wasn't that great. The whole match itself was just not great, but it was not a good winner. It was pointless because it didn't go anywhere. He ended up with a triple threat match. Daniel Bryan had WrestleMania, and I mean, it was a pointless winner. He could have had somebody else in there, but they just wanted it to be the Evolution versus Daniel Bryan. That's why he won.
Yeah, and I mean, it just that was a very tough year of wrestling to enjoy for me.
WrestleMania year
of 2014.
Good,
just
good that WrestleMania at least.
I mean, yeah, we got
Undertaker.
We got that moment that we wanted. We got the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania closing
and
the
the
show.
Undertaker streak.
That's number one. Number two, we've got Daniel Bryan, who should have been in the Royal Rumble that year, who should have won the Royal Rumble that year. I still think that they could have found, if you're going to do a triple threat with Batista, okay, fine, whatever. But I think that there was any other way that they could have done that without it being Batista to come in and take that moment, especially with the traction that Dana Bryan, had gotten. I still think that you could have gotten to that WrestleMania point with DB winning the Royal Rumble and going on to feud with the Authority, which was a lot of why I despise the year of 2014 in wrestling. And just seeing what could have been with a guy like Dana Bryan winning, and then obviously CM Punk walking away not soon after. Obviously time heals all wounds, as we all know, but just between that and then the Authority just putting their foot on everybody, it was a tough one. It was a real tough one. Yeah, and luckily that year got capped off with Survivor Series Team Authority losing power. I guess it was somewhat worth it, but but I digress, man. Next up, as far as the Royal Rumble show of 2020, we've got Becky Lynch versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship, and brother, I gotta say,
man.
Yeah. And I mean, this is just probably the one match I'm looking to the most outside of the Rumbles, simply because this is not only a rematch of last year's Royal Rumble match for the SmackDown Women's Championship, but this is the 2018 and 2019 Royal Rumble winners squaring up against each other. That's a pretty crazy stat, and I'm sure it's something they probably didn't think about as they're putting this together. But Becky Lynch, for the first time as a champion, looks like the underdog in this match. Asuka has seemed to have the upper hand for weeks, especially since they've really solidified the Kabuki Warrior heel turn and Asuka implementing the Mist into her arsenal. Everything that she's doing, they're just hitting it on the head. They're getting it right, and this is the Asuka that I think everybody wanted to see when she came up from NXT, and we just really didn't get that, and especially with the tapping out to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. I still disagree with that. I love that they, pulled the trigger on her to win the first Women's Royal Rumble. She deserved every minute of that accomplishment. It just doesn't seem like they didn't follow up in the way that they should have for that time. But now Asuka looks like she's got a real chance to dethrone Becky Lynch here, before we get to WrestleMania. Do I think that she will? Probably not. Just because she's doing too much good for the tag team division right now with Kairi Sane, and I mean, I think the Kabuki Warriors are the first real women's tag team that you can get behind that have had a vice grip on those belts, and really show that anytime they're in the ring trying to fight for those or show that they're the champions, they are at least trying to make those titles matter in the limited time that they have to do it.
Yeah, I definitely think that Asuka or like Becky Lynch is looking for retribution towards Asuka in a lot of ways, especially the way Asuka has.
What are you doing, buddy?
Fixing myself. Right? Sitting on this hard bench. It's fixing, adjusting. Is that a crime? Sorry, we're on camera for the first time, so
that's fine.
Sorry, I can't just sit still the whole time. I have an issue.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. It's just my own.
Sure.
But yeah, I just think that. But I still, at the same point, think that Asuka will win this match and still be in a tag team. She'll just be champion and be able to do a singles match while she does, or Kairi Sane will just be her like backup to and her going into other matches.
So you think she's gonna be Asuka 2 belts?
Maybe. Yeah, why not?
I don't know, man. I just.
She needs to after she got they dealed her this past year or the past year or two.
I just don't think that this is her time.
Dirty. They've been doing her dirty.
And I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I just think that, with Becky Lynch right now, Becky Lynch is the face of your company. Becky Lynch is the most popular superstar, on the brand, we're just period. She is. And what I think, as far as Becky Lynch and the run that she's been on, there's no reason that she shouldn't make it from 35 to 36 as Raw Women's Champion with the work that she's put into that character and everything that she's done in ring. She's earned every bit of what she's getting right now. I just don't see that train stopping anytime soon. I just, especially with the promo that she gave Monday Night on Raw, and just the vitriol in her eyes, even as she's got this green mist that she's still trying to wipe out. She basically just said, you know what, I'm going to kick your ass. If I lose, I'm going to go down swinging. And I think that is a hell of a story to tell. And with this match, it's going to be a hard hitter. But I do think that Becky pulls this out in the end. So I'm willing to put a $5 holler on it if you are.
On the Becky and Asuka? Yeah, let's do it. $5 holla. Oh,
let's do it.
I get you with the right hand. But, going forward, talking about the ladies on the card, there is the Women's Royal Rumble match. And not many have declared for the third annual Women's Rumble match. We had the first winner being Asuka.
Yes.
The second winner being Becky Lynch last year.
There you go.
And this year, I don't know, with only really 4 women decidingly coming out, we're definitely going to see more returns like we did last year. I'm not saying we're going to see the same ones. We're going to see returns.
Yeah.
That's why when you asked me about Selena Vega, I'm like, yes, absolutely,
Sure.
She's going to be in it. They really don't have anybody not to put in it at this point. I'm really just intrigued at who's obviously going to win it because, you have Becky Lynch and Asuka and Bayley versus Lacey Evans for the Women's Championship. There's no guarantees that they'll be in it, but they might. Maybe the losers will be. Will enter. And that's only like 7 people right there. Like, I think we do see a returning Naomi next week.
I would hope so, especially because we've got the Usos back. Naomi would be a cool Royal Rumble return just because the glow entrance. I think it looked pretty awesome. Inside Minute Maid Park.
We see a Bella twin entrance potentially.
No, I
maybe one of them.
No, they're both. At this point, they're both done with wrestling. They've done their thing. I
guess we'll see.
I mean, they've been rumored as Hall of Fame names for this year. At this point, I think that they're good. If they do nothing else in wrestling except for be ambassadors for WWE and have Total Divas and Total Bellas, that's more than enough, I think, for them. But I don't necessarily see them getting back in the ring. They have nothing really left to prove.
Might I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think if we're gonna see any returns, I would like to see, and it's been rumored. I don't know if this is legit or not. I know that we've heard about some returns, especially on the men's side. But the one name I'm hearing a lot about is Paige. Potentially making a return for the Rumble. Spinal stenosis is definitely serious. However, I mean, if we can have the conversation about Edge, on the men's side potentially making a return, it could be possible, I think, for Paige. And if it is, I think that that's something that people would really embrace, just because we really never got a proper Paige send off, and there's a lot more that she could have done, just for WWE and as a champion in general, especially in this current, women's, evolution, revolution, just the women's movement that we're seeing right now.
100% with the minimal amount of people that are probably going to be in it from WWE. We're going to see a lot more NXT presence in the Royal Rumble, I feel, on the women's side than we would on the men's necessarily. Shayna Baszler, Kairi Sane. I even think NXT UK women potentially could enter this Rumble.
For sure.
I think that's where they're going to, get a lot of their people to kind of fill the rest, because I don't see Trish Stratus returning. I don't see
Lita. No.
Rita, I don't see Lita returning.
I could see like a Michelle McCool or a Layla. Maybe Eve Torres.
I don't see Tori Wilson returning.
I mean, I would hope, potentially that both Royal Rumbles are 10, 10, and 10. I think that we're at the point where they've got one of the biggest rosters in wrestling right now. There's no reason not to. I mean, I understand the nostalgia appeal of having a Hall of Famer or two return, just a couple of big names, but we are at the point, this is the third Women's Royal Rumble match. This is not something that they've had to do for the men, so let's not assume that the women have to rely on this either. So obviously I think that, we'll see some NXT involvement. I'm really hoping for a showdown between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks.
In the history of the Women's Royal Rumble, who I wouldn't say there's any questionable winners. I liked who have won, Asuka and Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
I like. Those are. I expected. I actually in a $5 holla 2 years ago. I actually picked Asuka correctly in the women's side, and just saying, did win that match. I haven't won any on the men's side yet. I hope to potentially fix that this year with my Roman Reigns selection.
And if we are going to continue to talk about questionable winners, this will be my next Stump the Smark question, Mr. Ozio. Who was the winner of the 1999 Royal Rumble?
It's like, you remember when you were in school and you took tests in high school, maybe in middle school?
Yeah, law school.
Sometimes in college, you'd have questions throughout the test that almost were like answers to questions later on in the test. Well, this is the same situation because I literally mentioned that Vince McMahon had won the 1999 Royal Rumble as a questionable winner, basically cheating, son of a bitch.
You know what? Okay, so here's the thing. If you're gonna do that,
Yes.
then here's what we're gonna do. We're
Cheating.
you know what? I'm throwing out my Stump the Smark for a minute. If you're gonna do that, then here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to put 60 seconds on this clock.
Oh, we're doing that now?
That is exactly what I'm going to do right now. And what I'm going to do is give you just the year. You give me the winner, plain and simple, okay? How many can you do in 60 seconds? Feeling up to it?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. Well, in 5, 4, 3,
Is that a 9?
2, 1. 1992. Clock's ticking.
Oh, I know. I'm taking my time. I don't want to get any wrong.
How many can you get in a minute?
Okay.
You got 40 seconds.
Ric Flair.
Okay, 88.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
2000.
The Rock.
2007.
The Undertaker.
1993.
Yokozuna.
1996.
HBK.
2008. 15 seconds.
John Cena.
1997.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
1995. What number?
What number?
1995. Who won and what number?
HBK.
What number?
2.
Nope. Number 1.
Oh, I didn't understand what you were saying. What number? Like, you should have said what entry. Where did he enter?
Yeah, okay. Excuses. Okay.
Just saying.
Well, if you want to redeem yourself, I'll put another minute on the clock. What do you say?
Redeem myself? I got like a ton of them. What are you talking about?
I'm being that guy today, that's all. You did good. You did good.
Would you be
You
able to
did
do
great.
more than that?
You did great.
Would you be able
I
to do
do
more
think
than
that I
that?
could do more than that.
Why are we doing me again then?
Okay. I'm closing my laptop. Put a minute on the clock. Name a year, bud. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
89, the year of my birth.
Big John Studd.
1991.
I'm sorry?
91.
Hulk Hogan.
2001.
Steve Austin, third time.
2003.
Brock Lesnar.
2009.
Randy Orton.
2012.
Sheamus. Worst WrestleMania ever.
Who won it in 2017?
17 was... Ooh. Man, you got me. 2017 was... so Triple H was 16, so it was WrestleMania 30. Oh, man, I don't remember. Time. Yeah.
Were you counting how many?
I got 4.
So I'm pretty sure that's not as many as I did. Just saying.
You want a medal?
So before we start trying to have me do it, again, you have to have a control. That's how science works. You want to have a control group,
What are you, an
And
8th grader?
if you're trying to stump the Smark, which is me, and I get like 10, and you get not even half of that. And by the way, 2017 was Randy Orton's second time.
Yeah, you're right. Good deal. Anyway, yeah, so if you ever have any questions, you ever want to stump the Smark, email us, ericsquaredcircle@gmail.com.
Still another week.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. We'll probably do another show between now and then leading up to the Rumble. So, again, ericsquaredcircle@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook. Join our Discord server. Find the rest of our social media information in the show notes. So anyway, moving on with the rest of the 2020 card. We've got the Intercontinental Championship between Shinsuke Nakamura and Braun Strowman. We've gone through that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I do kind of want to go back to that if we can, just very briefly. Shinsuke, I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like Shinsuke has been the Intercontinental Champion for I don't know how long. They've unveiled a new belt. Not a whole lot of attention has shined on him. I'm just thinking that we're coming up on a new decade, and there hasn't really been much of a run with him. What do you think about the pairing between Shinsuke and Sami Zayn specifically? Let's just I want to look at those two for a second.
I mean, anything they do with Sami Zayn, I disapprove of. I just think it's a waste, and I think he is one of the guys that I know we talk about not wanting to just pull from WWE talent, but as in AEW that we love to talk about. But Sami Zayn is 100% one of those guys that needs to leave.
Sure.
Along with the Revival. I don't think his contract's up, though, so he couldn't even if he wanted to. But he needs to, do something else. If not with AEW, then with some other promotion.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not going to happen.
Yeah, it's
this way.
It's tough, and especially given, you win the Royal Rumble, and that was a huge moment because it was also the same year as Asuka. So, two Japanese performers winning, the biggest, matches of the start of the year. And now you've got Shinsuke losing to AJ at WrestleMania, and in a way that just, the heel turn was needed, I think, that at that point for Styles, sure. But I just think that there was another, why not put the title on Shinsuke as that happens, But I would hope that we're in for a better year for Shinsuke, hopefully a good showing at the Royal Rumble. We'll see what happens with him.
So I don't know if you can stump the Smark so much more with because we pretty much have gone through every single year. You can think of more varying questions later on the show. That's why we want other people to reach out to us on Gmail, ericsquaredcirclepodcast@gmail.com, because we can't think of all the questions. We're only two just normal guys talking about wrestling here.
Drinking mimosas on a Saturday, sure.
I'm drinking juice. You drink whatever
Fine,
you want.
I'm drinking a mimosa on a Saturday and about ready for another one. So
I can drink juice if I want to drink juice.
Yeah.
That's all I know for sure. But moving on in the card that is the Royal Rumble, the first Royal Rumble of the new decade of 2020. We're in the roaring 20s, people.
Yep.
And we're in the 20s of, it's the 32nd Royal Rumble here in 2020. We are going to crown somebody new. Who's going to win? We got Brock Lesnar challenging the entire roster and entering at a number 1 to face everybody. The same thing that Roman Reigns was forced to do by Vince McMahon, which I thought was great. But he ended up not being able to win it because obviously the League of Nations made sure he was hurt and sent to the back and then came back all at the end to still get eliminated by the Game.
I mean, I really had no problem with Roman, defending the title in the Royal Rumble match.
But that's the difference. He's not defending the Brock Lesnar's not defending the title.
We're taking a walk down memory lane, buddy. That's part of why we're doing this Royal Rumble Super Show is because you love your Rumbles, right? You say you love your Rumbles.
I think I clearly have shown that I do.
There you go. Yeah, have it. Yeah, have it. Okay, but
you still haven't stumped me, by the way. No one. And I mean, we're almost an hour into the show here, and still haven't been stumped. Just saying.
Day is not over yet, my friend. Okay. So, Anyway, I think that, Triple H winning the Rumble that year, not so great. Obviously, we get the...
That was all based on, that was just, I wonder when they made that decision that year, like maybe like a few days before, like it was going to be the game. And because he was a placeholder essentially because Seth Rollins had blew his knee out. That was why he did it. Seth Rollins blew his knee out earlier the year before in November.
Yep.
And in a live show, I remember he was trying someone kind of big. I think it was Kane, actually. Yeah. He was trying to put down and blew his knee out coming down on the knee off of the top rope. And this was at a live show. So that whole thing adjusted that entire thing because Seth was apparently supposed to either win the Rumble or face Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns for the championship. Yeah. But, this year it's a lot different. Even though it's very similar, it's a lot different because Paul Heyman, is calling out basically the entire rosters of every show to say nobody's man enough. No one has the cherries, the cojones to face Brock Lesnar.
I think you mean the grapefruits. We're talking WWE here.
For me, they're melons. Just kidding. But no one has it, so he wants to take everybody on. This is the best and only challenge that he can take. And Brock Lesnar, Bork Laser, banana. What is it? What is it that my good friend Rob always says? Like, what do you say? Bologna face, skin of a hot dog, or like skin of a hot dog, like bologna. He's got a bologna face. Let's be honest. Who's going to take on Bork Laser? Who's going to take him out? I don't know. This is what I'm so intrigued by. That's just one part of this Rumble I'm intrigued by. Obviously, who is the winner? We're both saying that it will not be Brock Lesnar that wins this match.
There's no way.
And it doesn't matter when Brock Lesnar is eliminated, if he's eliminated in the first little bit by Goldberg like he was a year or two ago, or if he's eliminated last. He's not going to lose his championship. He's going to still be at WrestleMania.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just got to say, Paul Heyman has had a career renaissance since 2012, and I think now he is officially received, has received his cult-like status. Having had this second chance to be, a real figure in WWE storytelling right now is just, it's great because we're getting a lot more out of Brock Lesnar. We're getting a lot more out of other performers like Humberto Carrillo and Charlotte Flair, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy. People that weren't getting these opportunities, minus Charlotte, of course. However, all that aside, he's just doing great stuff right now. The storytelling is out there. It's creative. Some of it can be, harkening back to a not so PC time. At least in my opinion. But they are at least trying to step out of the creative box that they've kind of painted themselves into over these last few years, and just finally having competition, I think, has woken them up. And for Paul Heyman to really have a pretty crucial role, building the Royal Rumble, going into WrestleMania, I mean, it's just great.
Yeah, no, I think this is the best way to go about it. There's really no other way to go about it with Brock Lesnar's dominance and the way he's been booked. To just be unbeatable. I would love to see a team up of certain guys go against him and knock him out.
Sure.
Or, one guy that is man enough to take out Brock Lesnar, which I do think, like you mentioned in our show, episode 16, last Sunday, that Keith Lee is a good guy to take out. And I think having an NXT guy take out Brock Lesnar kind of just levels the playing field of the brands themselves. This whole idea that it's not a true lateral move, it's a move up from NXT to the main roster.
Sure. It's
not a main roster move anymore. That this guy from the NXT is taking out Brock Lesnar, the WWE and former Universal Champion. That also just helps the brand, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I agree completely because Keith Lee proved himself in Survivor Series. I mean, he was a force, eliminated Seth Rollins, and Vince was very high on him, coming out of that match and just the build that they had. And, I don't see why there can't be more NXT involvement in the bigger shows. I mean, obviously they've got their TakeOver platform, which they should still, continue to maintain. But, to have 10 guys, it's really not that hard. You got Keith Lee, you got Matt Riddle, Adam Cole, potentially any member of the Undisputed Era, really. If you want to throw Kushida in there, Walter would be a force inside that ring during the Royal Rumble. And imagine Walter if he eliminates Brock Lesnar. Can you imagine Walter versus Brock Lesnar? Who you got?
In a one-on-one match? Yeah. Is it in Scotland or is it in the UK? Because I'm going to take Walter if it's in the UK. If not, I'm going to say it's a draw.
Tahiti.
Walter.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that kind of stuff shouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, and I feel like that can be the frustrating part of having a guy like Brock Lesnar on the WWE roster is, yeah, he's an attraction, but it's a matter of what kind of attraction, when do you want to use him, how do you want to use him. I think that if you have Brock Lesnar showing up over in the UK with no notice and he just is there because they have a private jet that goes to Canada to pick him up to take him directly to the show, why couldn't you do something like that where you have Brock Lesnar show up? I mean, Brock Lesnar versus Walter, and I know that we're kind of getting off a beaten path here, just, dream booking stuff.
No, we're not getting off beaten path. That's a potential person we said earlier who could be a potential man enough kind of person to take out Brock Lesnar or face him. Then, yeah, I mean, I would say that I'd love to see after I would maybe not have said that before watching TakeOver last
what a show.
Last Sunday. And then Walter versus John Coffey. I mean, it was just a brutal beatdown match, and I love the way it ended. Like, obviously, by the way, Undisputed Era, they take prisoners. They do not take
I can't
prisoners.
wait for
They
Worlds
take them
Collide.
down. It doesn't matter what country you're from, you're going down.
Yeah, that's also another show going on during Royal Rumble weekend is Worlds Collide, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. As we continue to look back on the Royal Rumble, the match itself, I mean, obviously, there are people that should have been, should have won this match. I mean, you've mentioned Kane, you've mentioned, Chris Jericho. I think that, one of the big ones that I want to throw out there is Owen Hart. Simply because, so many things that Owen did, and I was watching the 95 Rumble last night, and, as Owen's getting into the ring and having the feud with Brett jumping him and kind of costing him his time in the Rumble, there are so many things that Owen should and could have done, and I think that, having a Royal Rumble win under his belt, would have been something. I mean, if I could go back and even rebook, if we have to have a co-winner in 1994, why couldn't it have been Brett and Owen Hart? We knew that we were going to get that match in the cage anyway. That would have been so awesome for that to have been kind of the further impetus of that, and seeing what would have happened. Famously book Owen going up against Yoko, former tag team partner and whatnot. That would have been good stuff to me.
I mean, we got potential returns coming in here, so this is a very interesting Rumble in the sense that the returns could be huge, and the randomized people that are coming in, like we have a couple listed, like returns huge. Like, I'm pretty much just widely speculated by everybody in the wrestling business and in the media that Edge is going to be entering the Rumble at some point.
Yeah.
We don't know. Maybe he'll get the lucky number 27 like everybody wants, but who knows? But a lot of people are speculating. I personally am not 100% sure that CM Punk is going to be making his WWE in-ring return at the 2020 Rumble, entering at some point to face off against Brock Lesnar and the like.
Sure.
I am 50-50 on this personally. I don't know what you think, but...
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to think about it because we went from CM Punk saying that he would never work for WWE again to being done with wrestling altogether to showing up at an indie show in a mask, and now, yes, he's under contract to Fox, but he's working on a WWE show. I mean, you don't line things up like that by accident, I don't think. I mean,
money talks. It's clear to me that money talks, and no matter how bitter someone is, and true, like he got into this altercation with this doctor who's no longer a member of the WWE.
Yeah, Chris Amon.
He got involved with what's his face?
Cole Cabana, the litigation
Cabana,
over those fees.
Yeah, that's been settled yet.
Still going through the system. Yeah,
but that's all behind WWE as well. They don't have anything to do with the doctor Andrews, and they don't have anything to do with Cole Cabana.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they obviously are in correspondence with CM Punk. I'm sure he does meetings with them, production meetings, if he's going to be doing this show. Backstage on the Fox.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that there's probably some liaisons between WWE and Fox. I mean, I don't necessarily think that WWE sends any members of creative
I'm sure it's
to
not
something
Vince
like that.
McMahon, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon sitting in there with them, but he talks to people that are in direct communication with them, and I'm sure he he has some understanding of what's going on with them. And there's a reason that people are speculating so much that he could potentially enter.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't just formulate like coming out of WWE circles. That's possible. I mean, and there's no bad blood with them.
Yeah,
at all.
and I mean, she obviously left just out of support for her husband and everything that was happening at the time. But the thing is, that stuff has happened, and Triple H, Vince McMahon, they'll always continue to say that they're open for business. And what would be bigger business than having CM Punk and AJ Lee make their returns in their respective Royal Rumble matches this year? And at this point, I mean, especially because WWE, or CM Punk's working on WWE backstage, he's at least, in some capacity tangentially back in the WWE orbit, and it's really not that inconceivable to do a one-off, guest contract. I mean, the same one that Sting signs to go stand in the ring and give a Stinger, Scorpion Death Drop to Triple H a few years ago. I don't see why they can't do the same thing for Punk, especially if he, has gotten to the point where he's willing to work on anything WWE related. A lot of people just thought that was it for him.
Yeah, and I think that he could potentially enter. So I'm for it. It's just where is it going to go for that? I mean, is it just going to be like a Trish Stratus one and done, which I'm fine with too. See if he lasts, like 7 to 8 to 10 minutes potentially in the Rumble, which would be interesting. Different matchups. That's one of my favorite part of the Rumbles, that you'll see guys that you never see facing each other really on a normal basis. But we have a potential guys to enter surprisingly for their first time this Rumble.
Yeah, I mean it's WWE's All-Star Game. It literally is their All-Star Game every year, where brand split aside, everybody's in the same ring, all vying for that same coveted main event of WrestleMania spot. And there's a lot of people to be excited about in the Rumble this year. I mean, even the ones that haven't been named yet. I mean,
so we're anticipating that there's going to be several guys that are entering for the first time, albeit Cain Velasquez, potentially Velveteen Dream, Keith Lee. We might see Adam Cole. We might
maybe
see
Matt Riddle,
members of the Undisputed, maybe Roderick Strong. We potentially will see Samoa Joe probably again, but that's not his first. I'm not sure if this is his first time in the Rumble. I don't feel like it is. I don't think it is, but it's one of his first times. We can look this up real quick, but if you know anything, let us know.
Yeah, obviously, continue to reach out to us, ericsquaredcircle@gmail.com. I mean, we want to hear from you guys. This show is a labor of love, and we really, enjoy putting out this content and talking wrestling with people that, that want to hear what we've got to say. And obviously, we want you to like, comment, subscribe, leave reviews, engage. Let's build a community. Let's talk some wrestling. Let's enjoy what's going on right now. This is it's really a good time to be a fan right now. So, let's have some fun with it, and we want to continue to hear from you. So all of our social media information is in the show notes. But yeah, I mean, as we kind of take a look back on the Rumble, I know that you and I both kind of have our own individual moments as far as your favorite things that you've seen in Royal Rumbles, not even just the pay-per-views, but Royal Rumble events themselves, that have been nothing but just legendary Hall of Fame career-defining moments. What are some that stand out to you about it as far as Rumbles past?
I liked a couple years ago when they were in San Antonio. I liked when this was kind of when Corbin was. I still enjoyed Baron Corbin a little bit, and when him and Dean Ambrose and somebody else were taking on Braun Strowman, and this was like the height of Braun Strowman being this monster.
Yeah.
He eliminated him with a nasty close arm going over the top, and he landed right on his ass.
Yeah.
That was pretty enjoyable. I enjoyed seeing him finally getting taken down, and that was really kind of oh, Braun Strowman, he's such a beast, and he can take out all these guys, but he can't get it done at the same time. It's it was just an excellent elimination, I guess, if you will. And then anything Kofi Kingston does, and I am very excited to see what he can do, because if he has the New Day or just Big E helping him, Big E, I mean, it's going to be entertaining, and I hope he lasts longer, especially with how they did him this past year.
Yeah.
They had a great run, and everything about WrestleMania for him was great. But
and
really
then
did
Brock
him dirty
Lesnar happened.
Really did him dirty at the end.
And
Brock Lesnar will not go away.
And I'm not even saying that he has to go away. Like I don't dislike Brock Lesnar. I think at this point it's shrewd business for him, just objectively speaking, because he's getting the Brinks truck backed up for whatever it is that he wants.
Oh, yeah.
The private
jelly.
the private
Jelly
jet,
over it.
literally to pick him up at that ranch in Canada.
I want that.
Basically to whatever arenas he's going to. I mean, it's the easiest
I
gig
want
in the
that.
world, And to do, a few minutes of in-ring work and to just show up and be imposing, that's not a bad deal to get. Like, if that's your job and that's what you do for a living, sure, go ahead. I just, I get frustrated in the fact that Brock Lesnar just doesn't seem to want to be at that point. I feel like if you're going to work for the preeminent wrestling company in the world, that you should want to do more than kind of just be the attraction, much like everybody else. And I think that's a lot of the knack that or the knocks that people have against him. But with Paul Heyman, again being in charge of Raw, I think that we're seeing a lot more out of Brock Lesnar than we would have, had they just kind of kept the status quo, and that's certainly encouraging. I would just hope that as we kind of go into 2020 and the couple of years after that, Brock's only in his early 40s, so that's not to say that he can't still have an awesome career, but add a few more dates to the belt and really make the WWE Championship mean something again. It's just it's weird not seeing it on TV every week when that's the model that we grew up with, and it just seems like kind of overnight there was this just shift to the attraction and the one name that you can put on the marquee and kind of what comes with that, and just kind of having that truncated fight feel to it.
I'm excited. I'm excited to hear the countdowns every year. I'm always excited to hear it. Who do you think of everybody that enters is the quickest to exit the Royal Rumble?
And we talked about this a little bit.
I gave you my prediction, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember what it was.
I believe it's going to be Shorty G because he's so short. He's going to have a short time in the ring.
I think it's Otis. I just think that somehow they continue to have the Mandy,
dude.
Sonya Deville, Otis, just weirdness.
Or like Mandy walks outside and he gets distracted and he's like, and he gets immediately. But
exactly.
It's not going to be what's his face 1.9 or like 3 seconds.
Yeah, that was the shortest one.
Yeah,
that I can think of anyway. And then one of the Bushwhackers too did something like that.
I'm pretty sure he's still the shortest.
Yeah. So. But I think that, let's talk about this one a little bit. Mandy Rose and Otis. Like, who'd have thought? Like, and the thing is, they seem to be having a lot of fun with this storyline. And last night, we kind of finally have the Sonya saying, "You think that Otis could come watch my back at ringside tonight? Like, can you ask him?" Like, it's starting to get to that point of, remember all that stuff between Chris Jericho, and Trish and Lita, like going into WrestleMania 20, the bet over who could get with the one the fastest, and it turned into this whole triangle, and Trish turning heel and aligning with Christian, which I still don't get, but this is the guy that Vince wanted to cover with a blue dot, but sure.
Attitude Era, baby.
Yeah.
It's the Tude Era.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. We had pillow fights back then, remember?
One time.
Gotta love them pillow fights. WrestleMania.
Yeah, but no, back to Otis. I think definitely going to be one of the shorter times in the Rumble this year, and that's not really. I don't really necessarily see that as a bad thing for Otis, just because he's got. When you look at both of Heavy Machinery, Otis just there's this natural charisma that's just there, and this just you can't help but love him. He's a lovable, just big dude. Like he blue collar solid. That's it, man. Big old bear. Yeah. Actually, no. Girlfriend's first wrestling T-shirt. Got her a Heavy Machinery T-shirt just because she loves Otis. Yeah.
No, I think he could definitely get knocked out pretty quickly. Yeah. He could be pretty comical too. So it would be that way as well.
Yeah.
So I could see that.
And
I could definitely see that.
As far as some of our other, you've obviously given your favorite moment. As far as anything Kofi related, I gotta say, me being a Shawn Michaels mark, Mr. WrestleMania going wire to wire, number 1, 1995. It was something new that you hadn't seen before, and obviously the start of many great things for Mr. WrestleMania. But the way he did it, and kind of the Shawn Michaels rule developing of both feet touching the ground, obviously something very creative on Shawn's part to come up with. And
yeah, I did enjoy that. I watched that whole thing. Him and the British Bulldog going wire to wire.
Davey, that's another guy that greatest to never win.
Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited overall. I mean, you still, by the way, I like to throw out nobody. He hasn't stumped anything. Nobody can't stump me.
We get it, okay? But this is only the first Stump the Smark that we've ever actually done. You wait.
We can do other stuff, but for the Rumble purposes, you still haven't done it.
That's
and
fine.
We still have another plus week, so I believe we will do one more show before the show before the Royal Rumble, before the road to WrestleMania starts next week. Probably this time next week, Saturday. We'll come to you, probably not via video, but we will come to you as audio. Come and listen to us, Eric Squared Circle Podcast. My name's Eric. I'm talking to my partner, Eric.
Get it.
We're here
Eric
talking
Squared.
wrestling in 3 Points Urban Brewery in Cincinnati. Only a couple people have been staring at me, and I've been ignoring it. But it's cool.
It's fine.
You think some wrestling?
Think we're the only people that have set up a podcast in a bar before? No.
I have no idea. I don't know about other people. I got nothing to do with them.
That's fair.
But yes, you still haven't stumped the Smark. Just saying.
That's fine. We still got plenty of time. Okay, it's now my new personal mission to stump the Smark of Eric Ozio in 2020. Anyway, moving on. As far as other memorable moments, Rock versus Foley, 1999, last man standing match, absolute bloodbath, and really kind of the peak of Mick Foley and kind of what he did in 1999. Just what a match, man! Even watching that back and just kind of knowing what it is that we know now about head injuries and all that stuff and the effects. Mick Foley took, I lost count after like 7 chair shots straight to the head, and
And then they had to put the audio on of him saying, "I quit."
Yeah,
because he clearly did not say that.
Oh,
actually,
no,
through
there's
the
no way.
microphone.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious.
He got that last laugh though, man, with that 100 G's. So, but Foley, another guy that should have won the Rumble. Obviously, I think there's so many. There's obviously going to be a number of people, and that could have that opportunity. And as we think about the match itself, obviously it's such a classic match, but it seems like some years there's a lot of fanfare about number 1 or number 30, or not at all. Obviously, the big deal about this year is Brock Lesnar, number 1. But you would think that being able to have that distinct advantage at number 30, that they would come up with more ways to utilize that as far as just week to week storytelling, especially when it feels like after the second that the Raw after Survivor Series hits the air, that it's almost as if the writing team gets complacent until they've got to get ready for WrestleMania. But it seems like it'd be such an easy way to jumpstart that over those 2 months as far as a tournament to figure out who gets in the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble and really make it a big deal. Obviously we've had people come in at number 30 before, obviously Undertaker winning in 2007 at that spot, but it just seems like there's so much more that they can do with it and really make it mean something on TV. Even if they may want to cool people's jets going into WrestleMania, this would be a good way to start to warm some of them up. Like, imagine if Roman was doing a tournament for the number 30 spot to get there and going through King Corbin in the process. That's the way to jumpstart it. I think that's the way to make it a little bit more believable. But that's just me kind of musing.
I think Royal Rumble 2015, the triple threat match between Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, and John Cena was probably one of the best matches of a Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Just really great overall, and then having Brock get knocked out for a while, and those two going head-to-head, and then Brock
made you really think that there was a chance of
Yeah, and then Brock obviously coming through and winning it, but it was just still a really great match leading up to a not great Royal Rumble.
Yeah, man, and the thing is, like, that arena was just deafening with boos. I mean, it was
They were
it was
pissed
raw.
at the
I mean,
end.
you got
They were not happy at the end.
you got Dwayne Johnson out there, who actually was in Cincinnati last week. We just
Literally,
want to point that out.
The Rock was out there to push
Yeah.
Roman Reigns, and the crowd was not
Yeah.
buying it. Not even The Rock.
Not
could
for a
get him
second.
over.
Not for a second.
And this is The Rock is The Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, this is only 5 years ago, so The Rock is still obviously.
He's
awesome.
yeah, and the thing is, I mean, I can understand it. It's worth a try. I still think that, and going back to questionable booking decisions, I'll go back to 2014 again. I know that I've pointed out Daniel Bryan coming in at number 30 and being that surprise to win it and still get the WrestleMania moment. That would have been awesome. I still think that it would have. I think alternatively, you could have had Roman win it that year too, and everybody would have bought into it because it would have been such a surprise.
The reason why everyone was so pissed off about 2015 because Daniel Bryan got eliminated halfway through the Royal
He wasn't
Rumble.
even in the Royal Rumble. That's the thing.
Yeah,
No,
he
he
was.
wasn't.
2015.
Not,
it was.
no, I'm talking 2014.
Well, I'm talking the following year. That's why they were so pissed off about that Rumble because Daniel Bryan.
Well,
the
there
year
was
after
also
getting
that. Yeah,
screwed,
yeah. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
He got screwed
Okay,
again.
okay, yeah, I got you now. I think that definitely Roman was a year too late. Daniel Bryan, I think, would have been fine either way, 14 or 15, had he been booked to
Talk
win
about
it.
people that haven't won
Yeah.
one, Daniel Bryan as well.
Yeah, I mean, and he's one of those guys, man. And I'm so happy that he's been finally able to get back into the ring, and he's legit, at the top of the blue brand right now. Obviously, having the feud with Wyatt, I think that so long as he continues to feel okay, that they've got another top main roster guy.
It seems like
Yeah.
they've gone differently about how they use him too.
For sure, yeah, and obviously, having to go through the concussion testing, when he's done with each match, I think that's, good to have in place for him. But it seems to be working. He seems to be doing all right. So I think that as long as he continues to feel good, he should obviously still be that guy and still be in that spot and hopefully continuing to wrestle for the Universal Championship, in 2020 and beyond.
Absolutely. And I think those are some of my main Rumble moments. I know that I'd say my favorite Rumble potential winner was maybe Cena in 2008, which was funny because I'm not a huge Cena fan,
Yeah.
but I just love that Rumble and Cena.
That
coming out
pop
was
at
just
number
so,
30 when he hit, it was
great.
just like what, and I'll go back and watch
came
it
back
just
early
for
from
that.
shoulder surgery.
Yeah, and he was back, way sooner than expected, but just kind of the, all of it just made for something awesome, and everybody clearly, was shaken that he had returned so soon. Obviously, the same thing with Edge in 2010 and his big return. That's just the one awesome thing about the Royal Rumble is you really don't know what's going to happen. And I know that we continue to harp on it, but we're in a time where we really don't know all that much about what's going to happen at WrestleMania, and that's kind of nice. We because in years past, by now we've kind of known where they're going with something, and it's kind of ruined the illusion and the luster and the allure of it. But now we're kind of just getting to speculate, and it's a lot of fun to do.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I know that I'm excited to continue to not be stumped and enjoy the show coming up here in a week.
I'm going to make it my
Monday.
personal quest to stump you then.
What?
It's
Personal
going to
what?
be a personal quest to stump you.
Oh, okay.
Smark.
No, I mean, you can do whatever you want. I know we talk on... we do truly enjoy talking about the Royal Rumble and the match coming up and the pay-per-view itself. Is there anything that you would want to change maybe about the gimmick match itself or just the program?
It's such a classic match that I can't necessarily say that I'd want to see them change a lot about it. I think that the number 1 and the number 30 spots, obviously, you can easily build stories around those, punish the superstar or, give them kind of that golden, almost money in the bank like opportunity, because that is basically what the equivalent of this match is a guaranteed, main event at WrestleMania. Why not do this, why not give that same feel that walking around with the money in the bank briefcase can have, Or what if, and this literally just came to me, but what if, whoever is holding the 24/7 championship and it's got like a golden ticket to the back of it and that's the number 30 spot or something like that? I mean, work with me here. It's hokey, I know, but I mean, I just think that, finding ways to covet those spots is like...
Honestly, now that you say that, like... maybe not so much with the rules of the match, if not adding more people here and there, or just like maybe extending the time or shortening the time between people entering.
Yeah.
But having maybe the 24/7 championship going on outside the ring, and someone tags out, and let's assume someone gets eliminated while that's happening, and they like fall on top of the ring, so they don't fall down. Something like that. They fall on the person that has the championship, but he's not being pinned by anybody, but he just the person that gets eliminated falls on him and then pins him to win the 24/7 championship.
I like it.
But then gets back in the Rumble and then gets eliminated again to be the new 24/7 champion.
Yeah, why not? I mean, and that's the beauty of that belt. And I mean, there might be some changes coming to it soon from what we're hearing as far as,
the rules or just the look of the belt.
Not necessarily the rules, but Mojo Rawley cut a somewhat convincing promo last week saying that Mojo. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Basically saying that he's going to be a fighting 24/7 champion, not necessarily running around the arena and having that chase.
Well, isn't that like the same? So, what is R-Truth? A 22-time? He's got the record now for the most championships held. I think he's got like 30 championships held, and it's like all the 24/7 champion. Well, I think he was United States Championship at one point. I think he's tag team champion.
Let's see, because this is. There have been 86 reigns between 34 different people. R-Truth has the most reigns at 31, the longest combined reign at 152 days, and his 24th reign is the longest singular reign of that championship at 20 days.
20 days?
Yeah. That's insane. And
how long has it even been in existence?
This belt has
months?
Been in existence since May 20th, 2019. It hasn't even been a year yet, and there have been
not even close.
86 different title reigns in 1 year. It works. I mean, it works.
That's 8 months.
It works. Like R-Truth is one of those guys that obviously, if he wasn't a Hall of Famer before this, he is now. And he's loyal to a fault. He's good friends with Vince. Like he's just that guy that if you need him,
he was a member of the Golden Truth. Everyone,
Yeah, show everybody what you're rocking, man. Show what you're rocking. Don't show me, show them. There you go. But Truth is he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, much like his former Golden Truth counterpart was and is in other areas now, or promotions, I should say. But I think that obviously we'll get something pretty cool with R-Truth out of the Rumble this year. And then I'm really, really, really hoping, just to go back to returns, I'm really hoping we get John Morrison back, because if we have Kofi Kingston Rumble moment, why can't we have a John Morrison Rumble moment? Why couldn't they happen at the same time too? That would be awesome.
What NXT member are you most excited to see enter?
As far as NXT superstars in the Rumble, it's got to be Keith Lee right now. It still is. I mean, he's just so white hot right now. He can do no wrong, and he has the athleticism to go up against anybody and has the strength to go up against anybody. So it's really, again, not that much of a stretch to see him eliminate Brock Lesnar, but also go up against a Ricochet or a Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, all of those guys that have these different styles. He can he can adapt with any of them.
I was going to say Adam Cole or Johnny Gargano.
Yeah.
One of those two. I could see it happening.
I like it. Yeah.
Man, I swear, whenever I get 5 hours of sleep, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Whenever I get 12 hours. 12 hours of sleep, I'm tired. I swear, I got about 11 hours of sleep last night. It was great.
Yeah. Good for you.
But I'm kind of sleepy again.
Right. Nah, I got you, man. But, again, just kind of looking back on the Royal Rumble, obviously you've you've expressed to us how much you enjoy the show. What does the Royal Rumble mean to you, and why?
I mean, that's why I get so disappointed with certain, like when Roman Reigns entered number 30 in the 2017 Rumble. That was such a disappointment, and it was just it felt like they were continuing that monarch of that 2015 feel like Roman's just gonna have to win. But luckily, Randy Orton won. I like the surprise to it. I like the energy of the crowd that brings into it when everybody enters. The different. I always enjoy seeing the one-on-one matchups between similar type of superstars, big guys, the fast-moving guys, the pace guys, the workers. Just seeing those different face-to-face matchups. This one, I'm particularly excited to see the group or the 3 guys or the 4 guys or 1 guy that's going to match up and do that ring in the middle of the ring with Brock Lesnar, just face him. Who's going to surround him? Is it going to be just a total mugging, they like to say, that Michael Cole likes to say. God, I can't believe I even said them in the same sentence. But Michael Cole is just a mugging, just an absolute mugging on Brock Lesnar. He's going to get mugged, let's be honest. And I would not mind to see him picked up by the likes of Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Keith Lee, anybody else who enters.
The thing is, that's another guy that you can't count out of this is Drew McIntyre. It seems like they're really starting to take a shine to him, right now, and he's putting a little bit more of himself into his character, at least, by his accounts anyway. And I think that it'd be really cool to see them finally face off. It's a match that a lot of people have wanted, since he's been back, is Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. Obviously, Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar is a showdown that people want to see as well. But I mean, that's the beauty of the Rumble, is we can get these moments and hopefully see some returns and some memorable stuff. I mean, across not just the men's but the women's too. Obviously, if you can get Charlotte Flair facing off with Bianca Belair again, or Sasha Banks facing off with Bianca Belair again. Obviously, Candice LeRae getting to come up to the Rumble again would be spectacular. Shayna Baszler is going to show up, and she's going to show up. I'm not worried about that in the slightest. Obviously Toni Storm, Rhea Ripley. I think that there's just a lot to enjoy, and Piper Niven is somebody that's also on my list, and I'm very high on right now, especially after what we saw at Takeover UK Blackpool last week. I think that we got some good stuff, man. I think that we got some good stuff, and we're in for a great show, and obviously the road to WrestleMania kicks off here, and we've given our analysis and our predictions. I think let's just do one more final rundown of the card. Just give your final prediction of each match, man. So again, just to
I can't remember, at least of the matches that have been announced,
yes.
And we're assuming we're going to have plenty more matches in the pre-show. And a couple more throughout the show, because it's typically a decently long card that starts at 5 p.m.
Yes.
Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central Standard, and obviously 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, going till about typically 11 o'clock at night, maybe a little earlier. I'd say 10:30. Yeah. I believe that Shinsuke Nakamura will defeat Braun Strowman in the Intercontinental Championship. I believe that Andrade will retain the United States Championship. I think I did say Rey Mysterio earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and change it. Shorty G is going to lose to Sheamus in a comeback match. Roman Reigns is going to defeat the King Corbin pretty easily, in my opinion. I think that Bayley will retain as women's SmackDown champion, along with Becky Lynch. No. I said Asuka. I'm going to stick with Asuka. That's our $5 holla. Asuka is going to win the Raw Women's Championship. The Fiend will defeat Daniel Bryan in a tough match. Unfortunately, I do want Daniel Bryan to win, but The Fiend will continue because he will face Roman Reigns more than likely for the Universal Champion at WrestleMania. I believe that the winner of the Royal Rumble is Roman Reigns, and I believe the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, honestly, is going to be Alexa Bliss.
Okay. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that Roman is going to walk away from the Falls Count Anywhere match with the W there. Obviously, I think Sheamus. This is basically just a return to form squash match. Poor use to Shorty G, but yeah, Sheamus walking away with the win here. Andrade and Rey Mysterio is going to be on Raw this week, the go home match, but there's always the potential of it being added as a last minute addition. Same thing with Nakamura and Braun Strowman. I think that we'll probably get that added as well. SmackDown Women's Championship. I think that as much as I love Lacey Evans, I think it's Bayley's time to retain. This story is far from over for them. So give me Bayley retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship. Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch by a mile. She's earned the right to be part of that 1 year club.
I disagree.
That's fine. I get that.
That's fine.
It's okay.
I like disagree.
It's okay. We'll capture you giving me $5 on camera for Raw to see. Universal Championship. Yeah, Bray Wyatt also walking away. Strap match. I would hope that DB will still be in the Royal Rumble. I mean, I think that would still be really cool since we don't have all of the names yet. But Bray's doing some of the best work of his career, and that train ain't stopping anytime soon. Women's Royal Rumble match, obviously. If NXT is involved, I'm going to say Shayna Baszler. In the event that NXT is not involved, give me Sasha Banks. Men's Royal Rumble. Yeah, Roman. I don't see why not. He's doing some of the best work of his career. The crowd's finally embraced them. Let's finally get on the Roman wave and hopefully this babyface run treats him better this time around.
Absolutely, and this is the Eric Squared Circle podcast. We just went over the entire Royal Rumble Super Show and our thoughts on the Royal Rumble show as a whole and its 32-year history. Again, I am the Smark, Eric Ozio, with Eric Robinson here on the Eric Squared Circle podcast. Next time we come on here, we're going to be talking, obviously, NXT TakeOver, what happened on AEW this past week, the go-home shows leading up to Royal Rumble this following Sunday, not this Sunday, the 26th of January. Catch it or don't catch it. Don't be square or do be square here on the Eric Squared Circle podcast.
Do be square. Be Eric Squared. Again, like us on Facebook, ericsquaredcircle@gmail.com. The rest of our social media information in the show notes. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Eric Squared Circle Show. If you liked what you heard, take a quick second to leave us a review, and if it's a 5-star, we'll read it on the air. We really want to hear from you guys, so if you have a question, trivia, interview ideas, or any other suggestions, we want to hear them. Shoot us an email at ericsquaredcircle@gmail.com. And don't forget, you guys are the reason that we do this show. It's the ultimate show by Smarks for Smarks, so what's not to love? Let's keep the discussion going on Twitter using the hashtag E2SC and join our server on Discord. Last but not least, subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you turn on notifications because you'd be crazy to miss anything it is that we're doing right now.